It's called Big Feet, Big Dot, Dot, Dot. While I learn new and interesting hobbies like cooking and baking.
I'll give you 2 big reasons to subscribe to Geek Legion of Doom.
Cindy Lucas directs, co-writes and has a small role in Bigfoot Burgers. This one is also co-written by Jim Wynorski, who also produced this movie. And it's kind of a spiritual sequel to Bigfoot or Bust from 2022. This one, a low budget, kind of sexy romp comedy with some vague Bigfoot references, you might say. It has a few recognisable B-movie actors. Paul Logan shows up. We've also got Becky LeBeau and Deborah Dutch. So, the story, does it? Does it really matter? But, well, basically there is a situation where Bigfoot becomes a owner of a burger joint. Yes, actual Bigfoot becomes an owner of a burger joint, and it's an overnight success due to this kind of celebrity of Bigfoot, obviously, and he has 3 kind of waitresses that kind of work there. And it's a little bit of a kind of flash in the pan. The initial kind of fame soon wears off, and ultimately it starts to struggle. So the 3 waitresses try to reinvigorate this this burger joint by a few different means, getting influencers involved, getting a few celebrity endorsements and things like this. And we also have a little subplot involving some Russian agents trying to steal Bigfoot. What'll happen? You'll have to watch the movie and find out. So, plot is really a sort of byproduct of this one. It's not really a movie you're going to watch really for plot. So, if you are familiar with Jim Wynorski, you know his TNA kind of style that he's somewhat famous for. And a lot of his movies tend to be very much just about that. And that's pretty much what this one, again, if you've seen Bigfoot or Bust, you kind of know what I'm talking about. So let's talk about what works in this movie's favour. I will say, I mean, this is really a comedy more than anything else, like a sexy comedy, you might say, but there is surprisingly some kind of topical jokes in this, some quite sort of, I don't want to give any away necessarily, but there are some jokes about things like Harvey Weinstein. There's jokes about the kind of like the boutique burger joints that's kind of spring up and are popular for having like very expensive burgers and things like that. And then kind of like a flash in the pan. COVID. There's all sorts of little sort of current affairs and things like that. Even some kind of pop culture jokes that this movie kind of is really having jabs at. And some of them, I've got to say, are surprisingly kind of well written in some respects. You probably wouldn't even expect it in what looks like a very kind of throwaway movie, at least aesthetically. But yeah, there is actually a few kind of, I mean, it's not all the time, don't get me wrong, but it is all we do get them. I still kind of found some of the kind of the jokes somewhat kind of well written and kind of quite funny. And as I say, if you are interested in kind of current affairs, and they can change some of the names and things, but you know, there are some kind of funnier ones here, especially if you are tapped into what's going on in the world. The second thing I would say is if you like buxom babes, then again, this is a movie for you. It really features a bevy of busty ladies. I will point out there's no nudity in this movie, however, but nonetheless, if you want buxom women gyrating pretty much throughout the movie, again, this is maybe one for you. And there's a kind of a tongue-in-cheekness to this kind of campy kind of proceedings. It's quite a lot of fun. And again, there's lots of kind of like, if you are familiar with B-movies, Jim Wynorski actually turns up as the drunk in the bar and stuff. And as I mentioned, there's a few sort of like, B-movie cameos at the very least. So if you're a fan of B-movies, like this guy, you'll appreciate these kind of straight-to-DVD or straight-to-video stars popping up in this movie. Thankfully, it doesn't outstay its welcome. The movie is only around an hour long, so it's kind of over pretty quick. Let's talk about what doesn't work. I mean, how can you... This movie is sort of review-proof to a point, because I don't think it's trying to be necessarily a movie which is anything else than just a little bit of a gaffe, to be honest. So, you know, if you like bucks and babes and a little bit of social commentary, then you may check it out. But if you're wanting anything resembling a sort of story or characters and things, then this isn't going to be for you. I mean, this movie clearly has a niche audience, and anyone outside of that probably is not going to get on with this one. I mean, our Bigfoot character, I mean, why even have Bigfoot? I mean, it's so superfluous to the plot. It could have been anyone. It strikes me as a little weird. I mean, I guess it's just something to, you know, put on metadata, I suppose. But, you know, the fact that there's a Bigfoot running this burger van or burger restaurant doesn't really seem to have much impact. And the guy is just like literally in a Halloween costume, and they make no efforts to try and kind of obviously have a realistic sort of you know, costume or anything like that. The kind of the Russian kidnapping plot is literally introduced 10 minutes to the end of the movie, so it seems at that point it almost seems like, what's the point of having it? And I think this movie has its fun moments, but it's something that is could have been, I think, enjoyed more as vignettes, as little kind of nuggets, to be honest, as maybe as shorts. As a feature, even though it's not a long film, I don't know if it has a particularly interesting through line, and the movie really is just a kind of a series of women kind of gyrating and stuff like that. Just to say, to sit down and watch it for an hour, and it's an actual film, you know, it's something to have on in the background certainly, but I don't know if it's really essential viewing. But you know, it's not meant to be that, and this is meant to be a light-hearted throwaway, something to have on in the background. Certainly everyone here is kind of very energetic, and it's funnier than I thought it would be, to be honest with you. Considering its dumb concept, you wouldn't expect necessarily to have the kind of the biting social satire that this movie occasionally throws in there. I mean, it's not all the way through, but you know, it does make it at least for some. Oh, do you know what? That was actually surprisingly well written. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10, I have to say. So I actually enjoyed this more than I thought. So have you seen it? Would you see it? Let me know.